Hi, Miguel. Always first. You rock. And let me click on uh, Rockfin. So,
Hello, Teresa.
hi,
How you
Teresa.
doing?
Teresa, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I have an identical twin sister, and her name is Teresa. True story.
That's great.
What's that?
Maybe it's your sister in
No, she
disguise.
has no interest in anything I do. It's definitely not her. I can attest to that. Teresa's cool. She's cool people. So we are back tonight with another episode of Post Mortem Breakdown. Um, so tonight we have a great show. My friend of like over 7 years is here. We he took a Greyhound from um Portland, Oregon to Philly to come spend the week with me at Occupy DNC at the convention in 2016.
That's a long ass
And
greyhound.
with that,
That is a long ass greyhound.
oh my God. And it broke and his bag got stolen. And it
What?
was like, I'm sorry if I'm giving you like PTSD, sweet pea, but it was bad. But I
What was
couldn't have
the
made it
worst
through
part
that
of
week
that
without
trip?
him. He was my savior. He's like, "Do you need water?" He would go get it. "Do you want me to carry your bag?" He'd do it. Like he was like so chivalrous and just amazing. And we just connected and we've been friends ever since. So let's bring him in. Josh Hedge, my buddy. How you doing?
Yeah,
Thanks for joining us.
thanks
You
for
may
having me.
recognize Josh because he did the trivia night.
That's true.
What's that say?
I said
Uh,
that's
I-
true.
So Teresa says I took a greyhound 2 weeks ago. It was pretty bad too. So it looks like
Now
you're in
they actually have pots in them and stuff. I wouldn't use it.
pots.
Like porta pots, like
Oh.
pots. Like I wouldn't. I'd rather
People
die
smoke
than
on the
use it.
greyhound now to make
But
to deal with the
they have pots in.
Can
I
I tell you
thought
this?
that's what you call them, porta pot, like a
If
pot.
you're ever on a
I've never followed
long-term
that.
like bus ride and there's a toilet on it, the etiquette is to not shit in that toilet. And if you do, you're the worst person in the world because that bus, I mean, it's a toilet on a bus. I mean, come on.
And whoever's sitting next to it, that
Oh,
is
God.
so
Do
fucked
what
up.
you can to not sit in the back. That's also a rule of thumb.
That was one of the things that happened on me on the bus ride from Portland to Philly was there was only one seat. It was the very back seat next to the toilet.
I
Sometimes you
remember
don't have
that
a choice.
now.
Sometimes literally it's like this is your ticket number and that's where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was so bad in so many ways. And I remember when we were going, we were like, okay, the march is starting. And you're like on the phone with Greyhound for like 3 fucking hours. And they're like, we're not going to give you a refund. And you're like, just pay my way back. I can't believe you're doing this to me. And it was just, oh my God. So it
Yeah.
gives me PTSD and it wasn't me.
Don't
It was
try
pretty
not to
bad.
sit near the person that brings a burrito onto the
Oh my God, I can't. Oh my God. It was worth it though to come meet me, Josh, right?
No, I
Totally.
was, and you know, it was also a very powerful learning experience. I learned all about how our democracy is basically an enormous sham, and that the people aren't actually represented. In fact, they're shoved out of their very systems of democracy. So it was fun to get to see it firsthand. That way, I can't deny it anymore. You know.
But the Constitution was like the greatest document ever written, and we can't do it.
It was one of the, I remember a lot from that week, but one of the things I remember is how you and I were sitting in the grass, like you have you have tuning forks. You're like this big hippie dude. You're like all about like peace and love and all these things. And like they have fucking snipers on the roofs. Okay. Like, and we're like, oh my God, everyone here are complete hippies. They're like, they have like incense and all this shit, and everyone's going around like hugging each other, and what the fuck? There's snipers on the roof. It was crazy.
Yin and yang, you know. You got to have all your love-filled hippies to balance out all of your murderous assassins on the rooftop.
I think we all were radicalized hardcore that week.
Hard not to be when you were there for it. You know, it's hard not to be.
Oh my God, seriously. But I digress. So tonight, well, I love you, so I'll have you on all the time. But tonight, one of the reasons I asked you to come on is because you do a lot of mutual aid, and it typically is in the form of feeding people who are in need. And you have served 28,000 meals thus far.
Actually, in the last year, that's our year estimate.
Oh my gosh! Well,
Yeah.
first,
so in 2022, like that, basically.
Basically, the last 12 months, we did we calculated just the number of servings we're doing daily because we're keeping our tabs, and it was like almost 28 grand in a year.
Wow.
Which is insane to think about.
Wow. So do you guys do the same location every single day?
Yeah. Just right here behind me. You might recognize this place. Looks very familiar, especially people who were children once. Does anybody recognize this location?
Oh, is that Sesame Street?
It is. I don't actually serve on Sesame Street.
I was gonna say I can't see it, but I know you. So I was like, it's gotta be Sesame Street.
Good guess. You do know me, so yeah.
So do you like rent out a building to do this? Like, how does that?
You know, I'd love to. If you give me a few minutes, I'll tell you the story of how we got this whole thing rolling.
Yes.
So about a little over 3.5 years ago, the George Floyd protests popped off. I guess that was about 3 years ago. And in the midst of that, we had some crazy stuff happening here locally. We're in Medford, Oregon. And we had like a dude pull up in his truck and he jumps up in the bed and pulls a gun on everybody. We had a bunch of like crazy, just racist assholes attacking people of color and saying awful things, spitting in their faces. Just absolute insane racism for an event that was supposed to be a memorial for a person killed by the police. But you know, that's part of the area. I guess it's got its things. But one of my friends who I we're friends with on Facebook made this amazing video, and in it he said that, you know, hey, I was out at the march yesterday and I just had a bunch of people screaming at me, spitting in my face, calling me slurs, and I don't see how this is going to get us to where we need to be as a society. So he said these words and it just absolutely blew my mind. He said, so if you're one of those people out there and you believe that all lives matter, I would like to have you prove it. Come join me, and we're going to serve those lives out in the park. We're going to make lunch. Why don't you come join me? And I was like, dude, that's what we all need, is a call to action. So I got my butt down there and I brought like, you know, a dozen loaves of bread and a giant thing of peanut butter and jelly. And I just started slapping them together and handing them out. He was barbecuing and a few other people were making little things. And we just once or twice a week, we would get together, feed the community. That's what it was about, out at a local park, Hawthorne Park. And what ends up happening is, I don't know if you guys know about the situation. We had a massive wildfire. And this was about 2.5 years ago now. I guess a little less than 2.5, maybe 2 to 2.5. But we lost 2,800 homes during this fire. I mean, it's hard to imagine the scale of it. Like it literally whole neighborhoods just reduced to ash, looked like a bomb was dropped on us, you know? And a lot of people were couch surfing, just staying or living in their cars on people's properties, or, you know, were just nice enough to have like an air mattress in the basement or something, you know? Well, when these fires destroyed all these people's homes, it didn't just take away the homes of the people who were housed. It took away the homes of the people who were giving a little bit of space to the people who had nothing. And so all these people were now in a deep struggle, and the food needs and the housing needs were already at crisis levels before the fire. After the fire, it was undeniable. So at this point, we realized that this is now a daily need, and we made a daily food program. And we've been keeping it going ever since. We've maybe missed a grand total of 3 or 4 days in the last 2.5 years, but we've been out there every day, making sure every day there's a hot meal for people to be able to, get their needs met. And I'm grateful. I'm crazy grateful to have gotten to be a part of it. There's just so many layers to it all. I could go on and on and on. But I do want to say that my deepest thanks to, I think, the most important volunteer in our organization currently, and that's my partner, Nicole. She's a community organizer, and she took a ragtag group of volunteers who just wouldn't quit, and she whipped us into a full-on army. She found just food. She built the network. Because that's just who she is and what she does. And so we went from like a half dozen hardcore, volunteers to now we've probably had 80 some people volunteer with us over the years altogether.
That's great.
And so I just wanted to give thanks in that regard, because she really, really helped us to branch out and go beyond just the people who couldn't.
Shout out to her.
Yeah.
And has she done this before?
Well, she's an organizer for a number of community events. Before she jumped in on the Hawthorne Park Daily Potluck, she had been a part of the Commission for Peace Council, which, and beyond that, she's organized tons of festivals. And she's just one of those people that knows everyone in the community and knows how to talk to people. And, I'm just grateful. I'm super grateful that we're able to bring this to so many people. And this is what I would like to say now, because part of why I'm on here, I didn't know it when you invited me, but this is why I'm on here now. We're having to pull back, and we've not done this in our whole time we've been running this program. Just because this month we've had a bunch of our main volunteers had to pull back. Either they're on vacation, some people for health issues, other people because they're, out of town visiting family. And then my car, on top of everything else, went to shit. And it's, me and her working 2 jobs plus doing this basically full time between the two of us, keeping this feed going. And now on one car, it's not physically possible. So we're pulling back a few days, and we're now, at least for the month of September, going to be doing 4-day weeks until I have another car and we're able to kind of reassess the situation. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's been hard. It's been really hard this week, realizing that there's going to be days where we're not going to be there, and we're hoping that the community will step up and fill that void.
Absolutely. And Josh, can you please put your GoFundMe link in the comments?
Mm-hmm.
And I do really I know it's hard, you guys. And, I just, was begging for mutual aid for East Palestine and stuff. But this is you're not just donating to Josh, you're donating food to other people as well. I mean, he needs this car to be able to help these people. So it really is not just him you're helping. I know when I donated yesterday, I think you were at 900.
Last I looked, I think it was 800, but I haven't really looked in a few hours, so I'll double check. Oh, you're right. 940. Hooray.
Oh, okay.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Yeah, and your sister sent me such a sweet message, and it wouldn't let me respond for some reason, but I don't know if she knows who I am, if we're friends or something, but she sent me just a very sweet message, so it was very appreciated. But yes, you are doing such phenomenal work, just incredible. So I do want to make sure, because I can't help it. We're in a capitalist society. And when people talk about mutual aid, I always think, where's the money coming from? Yeah. So is this stuff that you guys are buying these ingredients and making these things yourselves, or do you have farmers who donate, or where do you get the food?
Well, this is a little bit of column A and column B. So when we started this, it was literally out of our pockets, and we kept it going, as much as we could. Then at one point we were picked up by a nonprofit group, and we let them take over some of the management, and also they helped us bring in new donations, and that was huge. Nice. Unfortunately, that group did not last. But even though that group didn't last, the program kept rocking. And even though we lost a bunch of volunteers, that hardcore crew kept sticking with it. Again, thanks to my partner Nicole and her ability to, really like weave together this beautiful network. We now have a system of like food angels. We have different members of the community making donations. For example, today at today's meal, a sweet little lady pulled up in her little car, a little like 4-door sedan, and she's like, "I want to give you a case of my homemade blackberry jam that I made," and she just like busts out like a whole case of homemade blackberry jam for our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And it's like those little things are what make it up. We have.
I'm like tearing up. That's so freaking cute.
I know, and so like we that's how we're doing it. We're doing it on the absolute shoestring, bare budget minimum of just barely scraping by and getting the food out every day. And that's also a big part of why we're having to pull back these last few days, is because we only have so much in the way of money. And then recently, and I'll share this with you guys. I don't know if you know the big company Franz, the bakery. They're bigger on the West Coast, maybe. Well, they have a new CEO. We had been, up and until a few weeks ago, we'd been receiving free bread donations, which was amazing because that we're all about saving food from going to the dumpster. And if they had extra bread, they would give it to us. And a few weeks ago, a new CEO took over at Franz, and he ended all charitable giving at the company. And yeah, he decided that the bread, you can sell it at outlets and maybe make a few more pennies. But at the end of the day, even though he might make a little bit more, all that bread's going to end up in a dumpster, which is what we were trying to stop. And it's not just us that got cut off. It's everybody that was receiving these free donations. It's a real shame. And we're really hoping, and we're not trying to knock Franz. We're grateful for the wonderful donations they've made to us over the last like 13 months. But we're saying, you don't want to go down the road of a few extra pennies and you throw the whole needs of community food programs under the bus for it. It's not worth that.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
That's a big part of it. Like the sandwiches and our sandwich program have been the backbone of our meal program for, like I said, the last 13, 14 months. And to just suddenly lose that, it's been a real crusher. Like even at discount, what we were able to find for bread, we're looking at dropping about $90 to $100 a week just for bread to cover the cost of the sandwiches to feed all these people. And that's just a fraction of the total food, but still,
Sure.
That's up.
Wow. Andrew, do you have any questions?
Yeah. So obviously we don't need to go into specifics of like why food is important, right? We all need food to survive. And I'm curious, I think about especially like how particularly some states, right, who have been mandating that children have access to free lunch, right, or free breakfast programs. And obviously I don't need to go into how it's important for children to learn, right, to have food. I'm curious if any of the K-12 schools in your area have reached out, and if there's been any sort of partnership, even if it's just as little as like these K-12 schools putting up flyers and being like, seek out this resource for food if you need it, right? Just curious how that works and just how different entities you've worked with in the community.
Well, when we started this, we were probably feeding anywhere from like 30 to 45 people a day, Now we're feeding an upward of 200 a day. And it's insane, like the mobs of people that we feed, but we do it. And a big part of it is out of the kindness of various groups. Now, we don't necessarily, like you said, that there are all these various groups realizing what a great resource we are because we're so rock solid and steady. And so they keep listing our name on various what do you call it? Like call sheets of resource to the community. And the more that's done, the more people that show. But again, we've only got so much to go and to give. I feel like you'd asked me a deeper question than that, and I feel like I'm slightly losing the deeper part of that question. But
Have you tried, I mean, I digress a little, but have you tried to apply for grants?
Actually, we are in the process. We are in the process. See, I was smart enough to remember to turn off my phone before an interview.
Andrew? No.
Did his computer explode?
Okay, come back when you can.
I lost power. I don't know what
Oh,
happened.
there you are. Now you're back. I'm like, why is he calling me when we're in the air?
I lost power.
Ghost story
All the lights are
time.
off. So hold on. Just give me 1 second. You did
Okay.
continue.
While he was doing that, I just to further answer his question, he was asking about how this info, how do we get it out to the community? It's through the community itself and through word of mouth. I mean, every day there's a new face. Every day there's a new face. And that's doesn't just speak of word of mouth of the quality of the food we're putting out, because that's a big part of the Hawthorne potluck is every day we're not just serving like some hot soup of the garbage we can pull together. We're serving our dishes. This is a potluck of our favorite food that we would serve when we're having a potluck with our regular neighbors. And that's what this is about, is we want people to be rehumanized. We want people to recognize that they have value, that they are our community, and we will treat them as such. We're not going to feed you the bare minimum. We're going to give you all we can,
And I know, I've known you for many years and you are a vegan. Is your partner a vegan? I probably
no, but I'm not a militant vegan, and but she loves my food. She says that I cook better than anybody at any of the restaurants we go to. So
I can't believe you're with a non-vegan, Josh.
I'm not militant. I'm not a militant vegan.
Yeah, that's true. You've always been great about it. I remember eating pizza in front of you and like, I ain't giving this shit up. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Personally, where I'm at is I believe everybody has to make their own decisions, morally and otherwise. So, but
do you make vegan meals as well?
I'm sometimes we try to each day have a vegetarian option. Not always vegan, because I've literally, in the 3 years I've been doing this, I think I've had 2 people be like, I'm a vegan. I've had a few vegetarians, but only like 2 vegans. So it's like, although occasionally I will bust out a big old Josh made vegan meal because, I love to do it.
Do you feel like most of the people who come to you are unhoused?
So it's a combo. We have a lot of unhoused people, but it's people living out of their cars. It's people couch surfing. And it's people who are just scraping to get by in this economy, people who are being paid the bare minimum that they're allowed to be paid by law. And yet their rent has doubled in the last 10 years, but their pay hasn't, And so these people, I see them. They come out, they're dressed decently, and they've got their little like work name tag and everything on, and they're just getting some food before they go to work because they can't afford to eat and pay rent. So it's a little bit everybody, elderly. We even occasionally feed families with little kids. It's wild, and the need is real. The struggle is real. I'm sure you've seen some of the later statistics that have been coming out that homelessness is up 11% in the last 12 months. Hunger is up like another 1.6%. People's savings are down. It's real. Even if certain parties want to pretend it isn't and keep telling you how great the economy is, the reality is
unemployment rate's lower than ever. No, people have more than one job.
Yeah. I hate how disingenuous that is. It's like, oh, look how low the unemployment rate is. It's like, yeah, dude, everybody took a second job so they can afford to eat and have a roof.
And plus, didn't millions of people get called back to work after C? I can't say the word because they'll block me. But after C ended,
Copacabana, is that the word?
Yes.
Yeah.
After the Copacabana ended, millions of people went back to work, and there were showgirls, but it was not the same.
Yeah, they didn't shave their legs and, stretch marks. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Not top
We
notch
don't do
showgirls.
aesthetic shaming here, boo.
No.
Sure. Um, so yeah, I love that you do that. I've been so proud of you ever since you started that. That's so freaking phenomenal. What can people do to help, even aside from the GoFundMe? What else can people do?
So there are things that you can do to help us. I'm going to send you another link. So this is to our main webpage. It's hawthornepotluck.org. If you go there, I spelled it wrong. Man, that is embarrassing. Okay, ignore that one that I just misspelled because I can't spell my own website. There you go. Hawthorne with an N, potluck.org. Fun story. When I actually started this website, I did the same thing. When I registered the site, I misspelled the site. And so I registered the wrong website.
Oh no.
Thankfully, they were really sweet about it and they swapped it around for me. But I was just like, man,
my
I can't
Lord.
believe I registered the wrong site. I spelled our name wrong,
Oh my
Good stuff.
God.
But yeah,
Well,
if you go to hawthornepotluck.org, we have multiple ways you can help. If you're local, you can volunteer either as a cook or as someone to pick up various ingredients or as a server. Or if you're not local, there's multiple ways that you can help. You can make donations via Venmo, Cash App. We take donations through an Amazon wish list. If you see things on our wish list that we're serving out in the park and you're like, hey, I have a little extra money on my Amazon card and I don't mind racking it up, send it to the hungry and we're going to serve it to those people.
Absolutely. Have you tried becoming a 501c3?
So we are in the process right now of working with another local nonprofit. We've been avoiding the nonprofit path like the plague because it's so much work. You have to have a board of directors and you have to fill out paperwork to the nth degree. And we're all volunteers. That's the thing. None of us are making a dime off of this. This is all just out of the kindness of a lot of good hearts. And taking on more when we were already overloaded just sounded like poison, so we avoided it. And now we're realizing, oh well, there are benefits like being able to apply for various community grants, and that's one of the things we're in the process of doing. We're looking to actually expand our sandwich program to feed more people, and to do that we're going to need money because, like I said, $100 to buy sandwiches, and that's just the bread. That doesn't include meat, cheese, mustard, mayo, peanut butter, jelly, any of the other things that we do. So, yeah, at the end of the day, we realize that the need has become so strong that we can't just keep shouldering it ourselves. It's just not possible. Blood from a stone and all that.
Yeah.
But so we're hoping once we file for this grant that we can make our sandwich program much more sustainable, on the ability to just constantly get some cheap deals. Maybe if we buy in bulk, they'll cut us an even better deal. Right. And then ultimately we want to go beyond just serving out at Hawthorne Park. We want to make sandwiches for numerous food programs within the valley. So there's one in Ashland we want to share with. There are shelters in Medford and Ashland that house some of these folks, transitional housing. We want to get food there as well. We just, at the end of the day, we want to expand. I mean, 28,000 seems like a lot, but we never sleep. We're just obsessed with feeding folks, I guess.
Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Like, I knew you were going to do something great because you have such a beautiful soul, and I'm just so proud of you. It's like, I don't know, there's something like, I don't know, to people who don't, I feel like I'm like speaking a different language to people who don't do mutual aid and aren't activists and stuff, but it's something that like, it's so like, you feel like you have to, like, there's something in you that's like, I have to do this. Like, I have to. It's like this weird feeling of like, they need you have to do it. And so, yeah, I mean, have do you guys see those similar people every day, or do you see new people every day?
Both. We have our dedicated followers and people who come out every day, and we love to feed them, and we also have new faces, and a large part of it is due to just the policing situation. The way that it's done. I was just talking to one of my volunteers about this today. The way that it's done in this country is every town and every city in every state in the United States is doing the same playbook. And the same playbook is push them out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense, because if everybody is pushing out the homeless simultaneously, then where can they go? It's like a Schrodinger's box thing. It's like, are they supposed to evaporate? Where do they go? And and so they've created the situation, and that's a big part of it. Like our local police, they put up a PR front and try to act like they're good and kind, but they just changed the rules very recently to where they can yank your tent after a 2-hour notice, which means if you go to work, and by the way, study out of Chicago University showed that like 60% of homeless people work part-time or full-time. 60%.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And these cops are going, and while these people are at work trying to make money to be able to afford to exist, everything they own is being thrown in a dumpster. And why do they do that? Why would they change that law? Because the cruelty is the point. They want them to leave. At one point, I had a very powerful conversation with the head of, they call themselves the livability team. And they're the PR wing basically of the police that deal with the homeless. And I talked to the head of this for a good 30 minutes, and he kept saying, oh, well, we provide this and we provide that. And what about all these shelters? And I'm like, show me a list of resources. And I went down the list and I said, dude, I have called every single one of these resources. They're all full. Every single one has 0 beds. Some of them have a wait list 6 to 9 months. So when you tell me that you're offering these people, but they refuse your help, like you're like the victim of somehow of homelessness because they won't take your help. No, there is no help. You're just here to tell the community that they won't take your help. You're an arm of demonization to further make these people look bad in the eyes of the community. So anyways, I railed him for a good 30 minutes, and he finally broke down, got pissed off, and told me the truth. And he said, well, you know what? If they don't like the way they're being treated, they can leave. And I was like, dude, thank you. 30 minutes I've been talking to you. That's the first real thing you've said to me. Thank you. Like, that's what you do. I knew this, but now you're saying it. Thank you. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. And then again, just imagine we're a microcosm. This is taking place on a million stages across the country. Every town, the same cops pushing the same garbage, saying, oh, we're helping these people by offering them nothing. And then roughing them up when they don't accept nothing.
Right. And like, what is the person, the individual ratio to the number of beds? Like a fraction. And then a lot of places, they only let you stay 2 weeks or so, and then you have to go so someone else gets a bed and things like that. So it's not like these places are permanent, and it's not like these places are wonderful because it's one big room. You're sharing one room with tons of people. And there are, parents who have kids on the same cot as them. They act like this is like living large, like this is free housing. And it's so crazy because the number one thing that pisses me off is that there are so many abandoned houses that have been on the market for like 100 years or aren't even on the market, and they just sit there empty. And then if they go in there, that's, squatting, and they're arrested.
Yeah, I mean, if the house collapses, then hooray, they get to collect the insurance on the house they never sold. But if somebody were to live in it, my God, can you imagine people in houses? Just atrocious. I mean, it's to me, what gets me is like, it's a math problem that you could hand to a preschooler who you just taught how to figure out how 2 apples can chop up into 8 pieces. And you could be like, could you solve this problem, Jimmy? And little Jimmy would be like, if you have all the empty houses, why don't the people go be in the empty houses? Like a freaking child could understand this. Our government can't.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know who's infamous for doing that? Pete Buttigieg. I had on this woman, she was running for his position. She's Black. And she was like, she came on and was talking about his racism and how he did that to so many poor Black folk that live in South Bend, and how he had all these unhoused people on the street when there were so, like, he personally bought up all these houses and left them empty, and people were like unhoused living on the streets, and they're like, what? And he said he was gonna turn them into something, and they sat there for years completely empty.
They're just
like, that's what these, what's that?
They're just investments to these people, because that's the thing. You can buy these properties in like rundown areas, scoop them all up, and then once you've bought everything and everybody's out, then you can gentrify and you can sell it twice the price. It's treating humanity and society like a slot machine that you can just keep pumping, but not seeing us as actual human beings with dreams and hopes and the need for shelter so we don't die of exposure,
Absolutely. It's, oh my God, it's so scary. And the thing is, all of us are privileged. All of us, like, even watching this, I know I'm privileged because I have a roof over my head. I'm privileged because I haven't gone hungry. I'm privileged because I have a platform. Like, I'm privileged in this regard, but a lot of people don't understand. They don't have the empathy, and they also have cognitive dissonance when it comes to acknowledging all the things that, are going on out there. Have you talked to anyone who's, shown up about, hey, I've tried to get help, but when I tell people, they either don't believe me, they think I'm exaggerating, like anything like that from people?
I mean, one of the hardest parts of the houselessness crisis is there's such a division. And it's not just here. It's microcosm. We are just one grain of sand on this big old beach. Every town, every city is going through the same thing. Like, for example, I'm here in Medford doing this program. We're trying to get these various shelters built. We had this one property that the city had bought, and they were making all these big plans. We're going to turn it into a facility that offers not just like some shelter beds, but like a community, like kitchen, gathering space, all these things to try to help and provide to these people so that they can ultimately get enough, money together and they can get out of this situation. Because that's what this is about. This is about helping just take a little pressure off these people so that they can then, have the means they need to care for themselves and hopefully lift themselves out of the poverty. So anyways, we have the property, everything's set, everything's great. And then the NIMBYs roll in and they unleash such hell at the city council meeting that not only did they cancel this project, but they then, to try to make it up to all the sad NIMBYs, they said, we're going to use that property to have a community barbecue and thank you all so much for being a part of the community. The NIMBYs. This wasn't a community barbecue for the people that were supposed to be living on this property. It was for the people that got them kicked out. And this is the kind of stuff we do. Every single time we try to find a place to put these folks, the community shows up to shut it down. And
that's literally East Palestine. Like, you're describing East Palestine too. It's fucking insane.
All of America.
Absolutely insane. Andrew, thanks for coming back, boo.
Lights are back on. That was weird, but yeah.
I didn't even say Pelosi's name. Usually that happens when I say that.
We're talking about mutual aid, so you know.
Oh, devil's words. Dun, dun, dun. We should
Especially, it was
show.
like right after I asked a question, it was like, nope.
You were like, really, Andrew?
You are not getting the answer to that.
But that's why it's cool to have a hostess with the mostest who can talk. Because I'm just like, I'll just keep fucking going. What is that?
That was me pointing at you.
Oh,
You're the hostess with the mostest.
that me. Should we show? Let's show a few things from our news that we were gonna show. We don't have time to show them all, but let's show a few.
Yeah, we'll definitely, since it's Labor Day, we'll definitely talk about. I wanted to show a speech by Sean Parker because for the union leader, this is the kind of language we want to hear from a union leader, as opposed to the union leaders that are like, "Hey, corporations are fine."
It's all right. Yeah.
You know, so yeah. Give me 1 second. Just gonna pull that up, and happy Labor Day.
Labor Day.
So I think actually, interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure this person, Sean Fang, fact check me if you want, is from Medford, Massachusetts. So we're going from Medford, Oregon to Medford, Massachusetts. So something about Medford today. Yeah.
Medford.
You know, I heard this saying once that every billionaire is a policy failure. Truer words have never been spoken. Billionaires, in my opinion, don't have a right to exist. The very existence of billionaires shows us that we have an economy that is working for the benefit of the few and not the many. I say the same's true for poverty wages and long hours. We need to wipe them out. The labor movement once fought for a vision of work life in which everyone had 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, and 8 hours for recreation. Sadly, it feels like we've gone so far backwards that we have to fight just to have the 40-hour work week back. Why is that? So another asshole can make enough money to shoot himself to the moon? You know, I heard this saying once that every billionaire is a policy failure. Truer words have never been spoken.
That is punk fucking rock.
Dude.
That's what I'm talking about, Sean. That's what I'm fucking talking about. Yes. Love it.
It's going to be backwards, isn't it? No, it's perfect. You can almost see it, even though it's a little green.
What is it?
Compost.
It's the plant from Little Shop of Horrors. Compost.
Oh, I have one of those. Not in a bottle, but Audrey too. Oh my God.
I wanted to pull this poll up because I think this poll really shows what's going on here when it comes to a realignment of class consciousness. So the caption, the labor movement is going through some big things. 88% of people under 30 now support unions. 70% say society would be better with more people in a union. These numbers are incredible, right? So below 30 for labor union approval, 88%. 30 to 49, 69%. 50 plus, 67%. Support for strikes below 30, 90%. And it's also interesting that the below 30%, 62% of people below 30 think it's currently hard to join a union. 70% think it should be easier to form or join a union. And then 77% think unions more needed than in the past. So these are I think all across the board, if you were to look at below 30, 30 to 49, 50 plus, for the most part, things are encouraging in terms of union favorability. But just I figured on Labor Day, it's just good to just show when, it feels like the world is falling apart. People are.
I hate saying this. It's pertinent, but I hate saying it because I feel like there's no right way to say it because it's kind of insensitive. But this is an example of how the older generation, like as they start dying off, like I know that's really fucked up to say. I don't know how to say it better, but like
It's gonna happen regardless, Joy. Don't worry.
yeah, this is true. This is true. I'm not going to stop it from happening by not saying it. But MSM is certainly going to, and like things like this, you know, it's like people, and maybe it's, you know, social media, I mean, the internet, I don't know, but people are becoming more conscientious of things that actually matter. So that's good. A lot of, I mean, you look at the climate kids, they're all kids, you know, all the strikers, the union people, they're so many are kids. And when I kids, I'm talking teen and 20s.
But our Gen Zers, yeah, they're freaking badass.
Yeah, they're incredible.
And you know what I just thought of, which is interesting, and I speak as somebody who's a millennial myself, right? Like, I grew up, and I think many of us probably grew up with the whole narrative coming from boomers, mostly, of we are the laziest generation. We are the, you know, most spoiled generation, the most sensitive generation, right? And I think with exceptions, right? But I think even though my generation is definitely to the left and is definitely more class conscious, socially conscious, right, than previous generations, I do think my generation sort of took to heart and let the boomers win the narrative, right, of that thinking. And I don't know if it's because now Gen Z has more technology and is able to just, in ways that we weren't, connect with each other more. They're much more like, fuck what you're saying.
We were too busy eating avocado toast, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
We're too busy. Yeah. But
also, I'm older than both you.
Yeah, we're
Josh,
both millennials. I'm tail end millennial.
yeah.
oh, you're tail end.
Okay,
Well,
got it.
what is
Nice.
that, like 42?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm almost 45. I don't want to hear it. I'm old. I'm halfway to 90. I'm old.
But yeah, there's something about Gen Z that my generation didn't have, where they just had a lot more of like, fuck what you're saying. Like, you're the problem, and this is what we're gonna do.
It's the access to information.
Yeah.
You know?
I really think that.
Like, from a young age, people are now able to be like, oh, CNN says this, but I can go on the internet and here's what it actually is.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's a ton of young people who are like, no, this is bullshit. I don't want to keep going along with this crap because this crap it's not benefiting me. I mean, a good example, I'm sure you guys, if you weren't going to mention it today, you should. Out in Montana, they're having that lawsuit of those kids fighting the state government over their right to get to exist in a livable climate.
Yep.
And
now, man, would that set a fucking precedent?
Woo! But get this: not only did they win in the state, but now Joe Biden's DOJ is appealing their win and taking it to the Supreme Court, and they are arguing. I love this. This is like, if anything's going to radicalize you kids, it's this moment right here. Joe Biden's DOJ is arguing right now in court that you do not have a constitutional right to a livable climate. I can't do better to radicalize anyone on this planet than to say those words. You know?
Because look, I mean, straight up, like, Biden's already got one foot in the grave. He doesn't give a fuck.
Like, he's on his way out the door. He's like, whatever.
He's like, yeah, he just doesn't care.
No,
so,
really
and I think a lot of that is so true because, like, you're not going to be here to see the planet when it's on fucking fire. You know,
well, he is. That's the funny thing.
Well, that's the thing. It is.
When all that smoke was pouring in from Canada and going down the East Coast, and they had to like shut down the Capitol for the day, I was like, you know, it sucks, but I'm also thrilled. I'm thrilled that they're finally going to get a lungful of what they're doing to us. I'm thrilled that they're finally going to see the end result of their own dirty handiwork. But I feel like it didn't matter. Even after they saw it, they're all like, oh, it's just summer. There's no such thing as climate change. I watched a YouTube video.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I said that. I'm like, I don't know why I do this to myself, but like, I'm arguing with people about East Palestine who are just saying Trump, 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 Trump. And I'm just like, oh my God, whatever, shut up. And one of the things that they're saying is, it's Trump's the one that rolled back the provision, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but he's been out of office 3 years and Biden hasn't signed a piece of paper that's been sitting on his desk for months. And I said, why is his press secretary saying for 7 months and 3 days that he's going to East Palestine and he hasn't been? And I was thinking, you know what? Because those of us who do go to East Palestine get sick as fuck.
Yeah.
And maybe he needs that. Maybe he needs to roll up in the EP and starts having the symptoms that we do when we go, because it ain't fucking pretty. So,
but Joy, playing devil's advocate here, you should show a little bit of understanding to Joe Biden. He doesn't really get a say in whether or not he goes to East Palestine. The Senate parliamentarian told him that he can't.
That is true. That is true.
This entity that we never knew existed until the Biden administration.
The one position that's been fired numerous times by previous presidents when they didn't do what the president said. But this one's not easily fireable.
Yes.
I heard they're wearing a Teflon bodysuit, so they just can't be fired.
$15 minimum wage. Do we want it? Let's ask the parliamentarian. No.
Nope.
Okay.
Let's see. What does the parliamentarian say? Or no, I'm sorry. That was Kristen Sinema.
Yeah.
No money for the poor. God.
That was bad.
What else do we have? Oh, let's show this quick clip of Mick because he's fucking punk rock and I love him and he looks so much like my father-in-law. It's really fucking weird, but I love how his hair is just like, and he's just so fucking punk rock. He's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna stand in front of all these fucking suits and I'm gonna wear a raggedy ass t-shirt and I'm gonna look like a mess, and it's fucking authentic as hell. And that's one thing I liked about Bernie at first, because he had duct tape on his shoes and shit. His hair was all crazy and I was like, yes, this is what we need. No suits, no distractions. That's how I feel about Mick. Mick's a badass.
Oh, this dude. Love this dude.
Julian Assange, 5 years in Belmarsh High Security Prison in London. For what? For telling the truth about US and NATO war crimes. And what are we doing about saving him? Meanwhile, most of our mainstream media in Europe have been bought by US empire. So most of our journalists are actually being paid not to speak the truth. They've been bought. Our media in Europe is in serious trouble. Independent media is almost non-existent today. Julian Assange, 5 years.
I love him.
Wouldn't it be amazing if more people would speak out about the truth, which is he was arrested for revealing war crimes that no one else was punished for, just the guy who brought the message.
Yep. Absolutely. I just love Mick. We need more of Mick, but not in the US, because everyone we think is a Mick is a Bernie, and we don't need that. We need a Mick.
Oh, man.
So you're saying Mick, if he were to come to the United States, would automatically get co-opted?
No, I don't think Mick himself would be, because he's in Europe. Right. But I think if we had a Mick in the US, like if he was like a so-called radical or something, as Mick was, I mean, look at Bernie 40 years ago. He was fucking badass.
Shit, look at Bernie before that meeting with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. He went into that meeting on fire. He came out a lapdog. What the F happened in that meeting?
Yep.
Like, to this day, I can't get my head wrapped around what happened on that day.
Yep. That's when it all changed.
Every bit of it.
So that's what I don't know. I just have no faith in anyone, to be honest. And I think that's safe. You know what I mean? Like, I just protect myself from like falling so madly in love with a politician again. I just won't let myself do that. I just won't. Like, at the end of the day, they are a politician. Like,
Well, and you know what I've been telling people who are feeling hurt about the Bernie thing. I mean, God knows I'm hurt. We're all hurt. But at the end of the day, what did he say? He said, "This is not about me. This is about you. I'm just the lightning rod. You are the storm." Well, that's what it comes down to.
yep.
And we don't need a lightning rod that's pointing us in the direction of more neoliberalism, more eternal warfare, more pollution. That's not what we need, And so at the end of the day, we're just taking his advice and we're moving on to the next step.
Yep.
And that's what the left in this
Absolutely.
country should be doing.
And I think at this point, we really, I mean, and I think this kind of almost goes full circle in terms of what you were talking about in your mutual aid, right? I think it's healthy to a certain extent to be angry at politicians, right? And I think that anger needs to be fueled in terms of thinking in alternative systems and structures, right? We could talk all day about how our politicians are failing us and continue to fail us, right? But it gets to the point where it's like, okay, now what? Like, that's clear, we do it. And I think that's kind of where I think that this kind of paralyzes a lot of us on the left, because we're still too busy trying to prove like, okay, this person is shit now, this person is not. And it's like, yeah, the system sucks. They're in a system that's not changed. And what can we do now as a community, as people, to like get the shit better ourselves?
Well, the system can't change. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's like we tried.
Right.
After Citizens United, they shut us out. It's only been 12 years, I think. I think it's 12 or 14 years since Citizens United was put into play. In that time, the amount of electoral spending has gone up 40 times. Not 40%. That's like is that 4,000%? Like, in the span of 12 years? I mean, we can't win it back. Like, they've put their money in and they're getting what they bought, what they paid for. I don't know how you end corruption when corruption, like, I don't even know the number for 40 times. Is there a word for that? 40 times? 40x.
Yeah, that's
40x corruption now in America.
Algebra. Ooh, yeah.
Yay. But that's what I'm saying. It's like we knew it was a problem before they pulled Citizens United on us. And now that they pulled Citizens United, I don't know how we get it back, because
I don't think we can, quite honestly. I think it's like so many of us are like so over electoral politics, you know what I mean? And because it's just like if you vote, cool. But that's not, I mean, people have been voting for a gajillion years, and we're in, like, there are way too many people hurting right now. So it needs to be stuff like we're doing as well. And it sucks that, like, I don't want to say have to do stuff like this, but we kind of do, because we're empaths. So, I mean, if we don't do it, who's going to? Nobody.
Right.
Like, the government is not coming to save you. They're not. And it's no team blue, team red. No, they're not coming to help you, period. And it's time that people really need, I think more and more people are waking up that we can't count on politicians to be, oh, what do you need help with? Like, it's not realistic. It's just not. And anyone who is aware, like, look around. We cannot count on people. We can vote for them. We can hope they stay true. That's out of our control. So what's in our control is that we keep using our voice. We keep sticking up for people. We keep doing mutual aid. Andrew, speaking of which, did you want to touch on that Buttigieg EP?
Sure. We can close with that. Let's see.
And I haven't announced it yet, but I will be announcing a very, very, very big show next Tuesday, not tomorrow, next Tuesday, having to do with East Palestine.
think one thing I just wanted to add is, and I think this was actually something I remember Logan, who used to do this show with us, mentioned on a TikTok stream, right? Here's the thing. Vote. Like, it's fine to vote. Like, vote. One day. It's one day of the year you're probably voting, whether it's in a local, state, or federal election, right?
Yeah.
So what else are you doing those other days, right? It's just one thing. And if that's if you're telling yourself, okay, I'm contributing by doing just voting, right? We all have different realities in terms of what we can and can't do based on ability, based on what our lives are. But I think we've been trained to think this is what our civic duty is, and that's it. And we need to start thinking more about other things to do when it's not just November 3rd or wherever the fuck we vote in all these different elections, right? Because there's 364 other days in the year.
Hey, buddy. Hey, I'm a liberal. I vote once every 4 years, and then I get 1,400 days of brunch. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh, man. So, so a welcome relief. Transportation Department suspends Trump-era LNG bomb trains rule.
Oh.
Green groups on Friday applauded as the Biden administration suspended a Trump-era rule allowing liquefied natural gas to be transported by train, delivering another blow to New Fortress Energy's proposal to ship climate-wrecking LNG by rail from Wyalusing, Pennsylvania to Gibbstown, New Jersey. The Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, in coordination with the Federal Railroad Administration, another U.S. Department of Transportation agency, announced in the Federal Register on Friday that it amending the hazardous material regulations to suspend authorization of LNG transportation. PHMSA had previously finalized the rule in June 2020, complying with the April 2019 executive order from then President Trump, who went on a deregulatory spree during his 4 years in office and is now seeking a second term in 2024. Rail transportation of LNG has not yet occurred, and there is considerable uncertainty regarding whether any would occur in the time it takes for PHMSA to consider potential modifications to existing pertinent HMR requirements. The DOT agency noted the suspension guarantees no such transportation will occur before its companion rulemaking has concluded or June 30th, 2025, whichever is earlier. Food and Watch Water New Jersey State Director Matt Smith said that suspending the outrageously dangerous truth bomb train rule is a welcome relief to the communities that be turned into sacrifice zones for a billionaire hedge fund tycoon to bet big on dirty gas experts. Yep. The victory goes to the powerful grassroots movement fighting back against the dangerous New Fortress export scheme and the enormous climate threat associated with the expansion of fracking and LNG. The suspension follows the DOT in April denying New Fortress's permit request for an export facility on the Delaware River in Gibson, a move that Smith has said at the time was long overdue and provides some measure of protection for the communities across South Jersey. And I wanted to... where was this? Okay, yeah, and Phil Murphy, the administration of Democratic New Jersey government, Phil Murphy, must do more to stop the dirty energy projects that are being proposed across the state. He added, if our political leaders believe their own rhetoric about the climate crisis, then they must take appropriate action, and that begins by stopping new fossil fuel proposals immediately. And so... After pausing the rule, Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg should put a new rule in place that restores the ban on LNG by rail once and for all. That would finally put an end to the threat to communities around Gibbstown, and other communities targeted by similar dangerous projects. And so New Fortress Energy's proposed LNG project endangers nearly 2 million people living near truck and rail transport routes. She pointed out, LNG is a volatile subject that can lead to fires and even explosions. The rail disaster in East Palestine, Ohio, earlier this year underscores how serious a train derailment involving hazardous substances can be. So that's kind of where we're at now with that.
Yeah.
A step in the right direction, but as always, it's a shallow step,
Right.
and it doesn't kick in until 6 months before the Republicans take back over and then immediately kill it
Because
again.
they will.
Because
Right.
they will.
Yeah.
Well, if they run Joe Biden, they will. I mean, my God, have you guys been seeing these poll numbers? Like something like 69% of Democrats say he's too old to serve a second term. Democrats say he's 69%.
I mean, did you see his Labor Day speech today?
No.
I
Was
mean,
was it laborious?
yeah, I mean, it's like the dude is just like,
Laborious.
I mean, yeah, it was like,
Happy Easter.
yeah. I mean, because it's the thing. I mean, like I admit, I avoid watching him speak for long periods of time just because it's usually painful. I'm like, but I actually saw a good chunk of it because it was on where I was. And yeah, it's like he just looks so out of it, and it's just he's slurring. And
give us a percentage. What percentage of words were actually intelligible?
I don't even know, man.
Intelligible, and then we'll go how many of the intelligible ones were accurate.
Oh,
Right.
man. Actually, that's one of my
It
favorite
is
things
known-
about Joe Biden. I saw him once. He was giving a speech, and what they try to do is there's somebody back there typing what he's saying,
Oh yeah.
so that there's a subtitle. And
Yeah.
occasionally, not even the subtitle person knows what he says, so they have to just type unintelligible. And it's like, that's amazing. That's amazing. They can't
Yeah.
even guess what he's saying. And that's
I mean,
their
I
job.
was even, yeah.
It is a fact that 2,785,000 people will be dead by COVID by the end of this speech. Oh wait, what?
I mean,
But-
okay, so we got Biden that's 80 years old and Trump that's 79, I want to say. And they're likely going to be going at it again. I mean,
absolutely.
come on. This is the
Absolutely.
best we could do as a fucking country.
Like, I
Well,
mean,
we love sequels in this country, so
yeah, that's true. That's true, man. This is gonna be something.
You know,
They
the only
did.
way they could do it better and more like an awful sequel.
Don't you dare! I swear to God, Josh, don't you dare.
I almost said her name. I almost said her
The
name.
H word,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there are some
Josh. We don't say that curse word on my show. HRC.
thought it.
That's what we'll
What
go
are
with.
you, the
We
thought
do
police now,
it's like
Joanne?
Beelzebub. It brings out like Bloody
She who shall
Mary,
not be
like
named.
it brings out demons and shit out of the screen. Like, we do not say that H word. Nope, no. I knew
right.
this. Like, I was like, and I got goosebumps.
The bad
No.
the anger bumps. I got anger bumps.
Oh my God. And you know what? Fucking what's his name? Not Kevorkian. I always want to call him Kevorkian.
Fauci?
No. The one that never dies.
Oh, Feinstein or
Well, no, but it starts with a
McConnell?
K.
I don't know.
Are we
Everyone's
talking
like,
about
oh, he's not dead yet. Every time
Senator or
someone dies,
Congressman?
people
Oh,
are like,
Kissinger.
Kissinger? Oh, Kissinger.
he's
Oh my God, how's he
cryogenically
still alive? He's like
frozen.
100.
Yeah, he's outlived a lot of people.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
must have
That's-
really cut a hell of a deal with Satan. Like just
Seriously.
really had a great lawyer. That's all I
Seriously.
can
Seriously. Oh my God. Do we have anything else super important, Andrew, or should we call it?
I think that basically sums it up.
Can I add one thing before you wrap it?
Yeah.
What?
You'd mentioned that you wanted to talk about Burning Man, and I just wanted to mention
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Burning Man. So I think it's amazing that literally 2 days before Burning Man, the world's most famous dusty desert retreat, became a mud pit. 2 days before that, there were climate activists blocking the road into Burning Man and like trying to bring awareness to the climate crisis, and they were brutalized by the cops. Did you guys see video of this?
No.
Oh, it's horrific. You should look it up. The cop literally drives through their barricade even though they're chained to it. And
Oh,
then tackles
I
these
did see
people
that.
and they're screaming, they're yelling, "We're
Yeah.
unarmed, we're climate protesters."
Yeah.
And you'd have to see this. And then 2 days after they try to make this protest to make people aware of climate change, climate change shows up and completely ruins Burning Man. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's very ironic.
Yes, I did see that now. Yes.
It's a
Oh my
trippy
gosh.
video.
Wow.
But-
I just thought it was like kind of bananas because like I think of Burning Man and I think of like hippies and stuff and like a bunch of artists and like peaceful people. They just want to smoke weed and do music and stuff. Like that's who all the people I know who go. And then they did the sculpture of like Ukraine, and I'm like, well, shouldn't y'all have been anti-war before now? Like, I don't understand why all of a sudden, like, blonde hair, blue eyed, and we're making a monument, and it was just fucking weird, just really weird. It's like y'all turned into capitalists, and like it's just not what it was supposed to be anymore.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
And you know, the reason I brought it up is I'd said earlier I was going to spill some ugly leftist stuff on y'all, and I am going to. I want to say this to the young people who are watching this: voting, it only gets you so far. It's like a tenth of the race. The rest of the race is mutual aid. The rest of the race is direct action. And at this point, if you see your climate collapsing around you, it behooves you. You are now left with no option but to take direct action in the face of that, because the people in charge, Joe Biden, he just said that climate change is an existential threat, and we're drilling the most we've ever drilled. We are producing more oil than we've ever produced in this country. I don't know what else to say. I'm telling the people, all I can tell you, please get involved, because voting won't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Andrew, do you have any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, hard to follow up with that. I definitely agree. I think continue to pay attention with what's going on. And yeah, look beyond our politicians, because the more you try and rely on the politicians, the more frustrated you're going to be. I mean, we literally have someone even on the Republican side blowing up Vivek, who's just like being like, yeah, fuck unions, fuck the worker, fuck the climate. Like nothing's and trying to gaslight people into thinking that he's anti-establishment. and it's like, and I think also don't fall for the shiny object, right? Like some of his takes, like with Assange, right? Correct. But like, this dude he's a fucking pharmaceutical executive, like ex-executive.
One that ripped people off on a bullshit pharmaceutical.
Who, RFK Jr., you mean?
No,
we're talking about Vivek
Ramaswamy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Rhymes with cake. Rhymes with cake.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, like, some people on the left, because they're so disempowered with politicians, it's like, they give a little dangling thing, like someone like Vivek, where it's like, oh, he said something about, Assange or Ukraine. And it's like, listen to the other half of what he's saying after that. Like, it's terrible, bro.
I watched that debate, and honestly, his performance terrified me. And the reason it terrified me is because he was the only person on that stage with energy. And that's the thing. What are young people going to see? A bunch of old white dudes up here just like grumbling about this, that, and woke and the other. And then you see somebody with energy who can speak with that energy on that stage. He was the only one on that stage. I'm really worried young people are going to think, hey, this guy's got what we need, which is young energy in a position of power.
And the thing I'm noticing,
he's not the policy you want.
And the thing I'm noticing about him too is, like, even in ways Trump wasn't able to, he knows where to go to reach young people.
He's a really good speaker.
He knows how to use the internet, even in ways that Trump doesn't, right? Like Trump used Twitter to do but like he knows all the different podcasts and shows to go on.
Is he young?
There.
Yeah, he's 38.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I've heard his name, but I didn't watch the debate. I was like, I am losing brain cells just thinking about it. But
Yeah. No,
I knew I'd catch a lot of recaps.
I'm a masochist, so I had to watch, you know. I just
Yeah.
hate myself.
I saw the first hour and then I was like, all right, we're done. But
So DeSantis doesn't really have a personality.
None. Oh, dude. Okay, wait. I wish you guys had it pulled up because I would totally have you pull it up. But there's a video when he gave his opening remarks at the debate. At the end of it, he tried to just smile for the crowd, and he made this face. I'm going to try to create it up close. He's like this.
yeah, that dude.
He's like trying to do this fake smile, and it was the most painful thing I've ever seen. It's like, dude, you were just pure cringe. Like,
Yeah.
oh man. All I gotta say is the rich assholes that run the establishment and pull the strings, they picked the wrong guy when they picked DeSantis because he is
They did.
awful.
They did.
Oh my
Any type of
God.
emotion he tries to show, it's like remember when after the Iowa, debacle in the DNC, right? And there was an interview, there was a reporter that was like trying to ask Pete about the results, right? Doesn't say anything. He just comes out and he's like, that's like DeSantis, like that is like DeSantis times 10. Like he does that
Wow.
all the time. And it's like, dude, what is wrong with you?
I just feel like if you're gonna find these like military assets that become like clockwork politicians, you could at least find one that can act. Because neither of these guys are good actors, you know. Oh,
Right.
well.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If we don't laugh, we'll cry. Well,
True.
thank you so much for joining, Josh. I love you, and I'm
I
so
love
proud of you.
Thank you.
Please, everyone, and drop that GoFundMe in the comments again, please.
I'm doing it right now.
Please, if you can, even a few bucks to help Josh, help these people, that would be great. Also, you can definitely share the stream, smash the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't. But also, please tune in Wednesday. I'm gonna start doing Wednesday shows as well. Matt, my buddy, Matt. He came out to EP both times I was there, and I reached out and I said, "Hey, how'd you like to learn how to do stuff on the back end for my blind ass?" So earlier, Andrew taught him, so we're gonna give it a try. So Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, myself and Matt are gonna try to do a
Tuesday,
show, and fingers crossed, but I'll hopefully join you twice a week now. I just shared something. I was like, wait, what? So thank you again, guys, for watching. Again, big announcement coming about a show I'm doing next week. But yes, tune in again, 9 p.m. Wednesday night Eastern. Also, I started a podcast on Podbean. I'm doing other episodes on there that I'm not doing on here. So they're completely on Podbean. So sign up there as well. Thanks, everyone, so much. Much love.
All my puppets are green.